Hello and welcome to What Moves Us. This is an edited version of our most recent podcast where we skip straight to the interview we did with Johan Berhin of Green Furniture Concept.
So how are things, obviously we're recording this at the very end of September, how are things in Sweden in regard to transport demand and general feelings about recovery?
Yes, speaking about the recoveries, Sweden has had its own way through the pandemic. I think that has reached throughout the world. So we've been more or less restricted all the time, and that means the change isn't that big now.
Right.
We're still a little bit restricted, but life goes on pretty much anyway.
And is transport demand unaffected?
It's pretty much back to normal, I would say. Peak hours are spread out. You won't have the real crowd, but people are definitely back.
Right. Cool. So obviously, sorry, Johanna.
So no, I was just curious before we moved on to the detail, because in fact you said that peak demand is pretty much there. So during the pandemic, because you say everybody knew about the Swedish model, which was not to lock down, to just have restrictions and that. So did people continue to go into the office throughout the whole period then?
People would the ones who could refrain from going to the office all the time, maybe just go in for a meeting, maybe just go in a couple of days a week, but not totally. That was the whole scale, I think. But we haven't had any real lockdown, and many people have continued to work like before.
So it's really been about more personal responsibility on the individual rather than the government imposing against our will.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, and it has worked pretty much okay. Our healthcare situation has also been loaded, but not more than anywhere else.
But you haven't had any more cases or anything than anywhere else. So
no.
So your health advisor, your chief scientific advisor, was right that we still had a long way to go on it, and we'll see who's right at the end of it. And for Sweden, it worked.
And you could say that the Swedish model is kind of social distant from the start. So we're not too close to each other in the public situation anyway.
Didn't have to do much distancing.
Yeah.
Johan, we've spoken a couple of times over this summer, actually. So though I already know about your company and we have already had an introduction, could you give us just a quick introduction?
Yes. So based in Sweden, we make public placemaking for interiors. So we work with public places like railway stations, but also airport interiors and shopping malls, also some healthcare and some schools. But really where there is a lot of people, a lot of wear, and a lot of use for having a nice place. So really our key thing is to provide that nice place in a box, if you want, architecture in a box, furniture that can bring that nice feeling along, and that can also withstand the wear and tear of a public place, and that can be flexible enough to change over time. To be modular enough to introduce nice dividing planters as social distancing, for example, during these times.
So going back to obviously the restricted period over the 18 months, have you found it easier or more difficult to engage with international clients because they've mostly been at home and happy to do Zoom calls?
It's been both ways. It's been easier to reach out far away. I mean, I've been lecturing in India. I've been, but from home, We've attended a lot of conferences that have been digital that we couldn't have attended otherwise. And being in one part of the world in the morning and then in another in the afternoon is quite an amazing feeling. And you can have so much more interaction with people because people have been there anyway, even though they have been working from home. I think that especially in the rail sector, people have worked anyway. So you could still reach people, and you could still plan for the future. And by the rail, it's still, yes, it has lost a lot of travelers, and that way a lot of money coming in, but there is still, well, some kind of government funding in the base. There is still a more solid and a more long-term financing than you would have, for example, by a shopping mall or by an airport. So by airports, it's been much more difficult. They have closed down in another way, and you haven't been able to reach people because they haven't worked. But I think here it's been kind of good anyway. Then, of course, it's been more difficult to have decisions made. Right. So and that's not because people aren't there, and not because they aren't gathering, but more that there is the uncertainty of what's going to come. So at what point are we to invest in a better place? Well, obviously, first you need to take care of the absolute security measures and the new regulations and things like that. But then, on the good side for us, then on a recovery, you need to transfer a feeling of safety. And in that, the biophilic design, the natural materials, the natural shapes, and all that we do to make well-being also provides a feeling of safety. So entering the station, when you have been through that journey and lifted your station for recovery, it's a whole other experience. And that it's really a key part of coming back and having a first good acquaintance with traveling again. And the new traveling situation, I think, will slow down a little bit. Time will be less critical, as you will not be traveling in peak hours in the same way. You will be traveling more for leisure. You'll be traveling more for the experience, and that whole journey will be part of your daily life and efficient and enjoyable life. I think that the share of being able to use the traveling time to have a good time together with friends on a leisure travel, or to work when you go to work, because you don't have to stand up in the metro, but you can sit down and actually have a place and open your laptop. It's making traveling more useful again.
So I think, there's some really interesting elements that you mentioned there, and I'm really interested in exploring that whole element of placemaking, because people in the UK and will know your company mainly for those wonderful seats that have been turning up in all the major stations with Network Rail, because just by using a different material, that lovely wood, and the fact that it curves around design and it works with the environment, creates that different place. It feels more welcoming because it's not a cold metal bench anymore, and that. But what in terms of contributing to that whole, because when you say about the design of safety and things that are less time critical, it's more about talking about things that are about the experience, that kind of make you feel comfortable, that give you that warm hug and make you feel that experience. What other elements do you work with to create that experience and give that sense of well-being for people?
I think that nature is really important in this, and we call that biophilic design, working with design. So using the elements of nature with the natural materials, the softness, the variation, the texture, the echo absorbing, the variation of different places, the meandering shapes instead of straight lines, curvatures, softness, and real greenery, plants. And all this, it has really proven an amazing effect. I'm astonished by what we have seen when Network Rail measured satisfaction rates. This was before pandemic, right before, but replacing, as you say, Johanna, the metal seats that was there before, straight lines, just the pure function of a seat, with something more enjoyable. actually moved the satisfaction rates from around 30 to around 80% of waiting areas, and just by changing what you sit on. And of course, it's not then just replacing one seat with another. It's replacing seats with something architectural that actually does something to the environment. But I was astonished also to see those numbers. And moving on, I actually see now, just with coming back for real after the summer here, a request for plants, for actual plants. So this is the real greenery and the real world living biophilic design. And I think that sort of represents an understanding of the power of biophilic design, the power of nature in stations. That yes, living plants is a little bit of a hassle. You need to take care of them. Some will die. You need to replace those. You have to water them and all that. But you're willing as a station to take that because it gives you so much. It gives the traveler so much. So I think that's it sort of proves an understanding of the values of passenger satisfaction and of how you can create it with natural biophilic design. So I'm really happy about that, and looking forward to all these places transforming with a passenger focus. And I think that it reflects your ministry's intentions to put passenger first.
Can I ask you a question then? Because I obviously used to do a lot of planning around stations, and it was always a complaint of people about metal seats, particularly in winter because they were so cold when you sat on them. Did it not occur to anyone to put biophilic design in until you said it? Or how is it that now it seems the obvious thing to do right now?
There has been, traditionally, there has been wooden seating at least. And there has been, if you look now, more than 50 years back, if you look the beginning of last century. Sorry, where's my phone? There was, stations were really made to give that enjoyable experience, and the seating was from wood. Maybe it wasn't so winding and soft, but it was well made and durable. So there is a tradition of wood anyway. Then I think what happened is traveling went up, and we also saw a greater focus on efficiency. So as focus moved from getting those passengers on the journey and getting them engaged and enjoy the journey, it moved to move as many passengers as possible. And with that focus and the efficiency focus, the reasoning was, okay, let's use metal because nobody can break it, and we don't have to maintain it. Only when you have metal, it's usually painted anyway. It is usually not just stainless steel, and that paint will also be scratched. It doesn't break, the function is still there, but it looks sad. You can't do much about it, right? So not only is it cold and hard and straight, but it's also deteriorating over time. So you didn't really reach that efficiency thing. So what we have found, and I think that's sort of a key to being able to do something biophilic, is a way, it's a design where you easily can maintain. So you're able to keep that softer material in good shape over time as long as you want, with very, very easy measures. So that has been key to being able to introduce it. And now you can do that. You can also see the difference. And wow, it's obvious. It's then an obvious thing to do.
Yeah. So when someone does commission you just mentioned about metal seats being straight. When someone does commission the company, do you sort of go and audit a station along with the operator, and they're like, oh, we could put a seat there, or there's a bend there, we could put something there, or do they? Do you do like an auditing process for them, or do they say, I want a seat here, 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 here?
I would say it's a combination of those. So, but as our design can turn as you want, it can turn around pillars, it can get the size of a pillar, it can go into every corner, it can sort of fit everywhere. We can put much more, we can use much more of the space than they could before. Meaning that we need to show the possibilities and discuss this together with the facility manager or the station manager to introduce the possibilities where there is where it doesn't go against the flow, and instead we'll sort of direct the flow and use the curvatures of the seating to push people and the flow in one or the other direction, more against the retail on the right side, or more sort of leading the way in a smooth pattern. So we work with the station manager just to assess the place, and then we propose based on our experience from before what can be done. And by Victoria, for example, on the Victoria, there was like 150 seats before, and we put in over 400. And that is still without affecting the flow. Just
pretty impressive.
Using it in a better way, going with the flow.
I guess that's the beauty of the product, though, because it's a flexible product. It's not limited, because presumably with a metal seat, you get it in a size, it's fixed, it has to go in that place, whereas everything you're doing is bespoke and it's working with the environment. So it's not only just about the seat, but as you were saying, it is also about how it works for that environment, how it aids that flow. So actually you can change the flow if you want to speed up and slow movement through the environment as well, presumably.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, and really I think that going with retail, that speed thing is also essential. So on some areas, you really want people to move on, but when you have more space and there is retail around, it's good if they sort of slow their pace a little bit, relax a little bit, to keep moving. But this is a nice place, looking around and seeing that, oh, that's good coffee over there, and well, I'm a little bit hungry, and sort of you get. You touch people's feelings, you slow down the pattern, make them relax, and that's then the retail business.
So you mentioned that you're obviously lecturing in India, which is pretty impressive in itself. Do you get the sense from your engagement that all operators in all different countries and cultures want passengers to embrace with their space in the same way?
There are much similarities, really. Very much. I had on this lecture, or one of the lectures in India, I actually was in a panel debate with the development manager of Rail India. And it's much the same, even though they come from a state that is, well, they come from somewhere else, but they're going the same direction. They are also introducing Shinkansen trains produced in India on a Japanese license. They're also on a journey to introduce rail to all their inhabitants, not only the poor. And this is it's a really a big transformation, and you can see it even more in Indian airports, that they are state of the art, really, and it's an international arena. And like that, stations are also becoming more and more similar thinking, I believe. And they are also, you can see in all parts of the world, there is an increased demand for retail and food and beverage, for example. In all parts of the world, there has been some kind of vandalism. Well, maybe not Singapore and Japan, but the rest. And that is something that you can help by making it a nicer place, making it a place where people actually spend time instead of just running through. So it's not an empty, echoing space. It helps. And this is sort of valid all over the place. So yes, I think there are much more similarities than we think. Every country will tend to say, well, our people are the most destroying, Every country will say that.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned vandalism there, because we've already mentioned metal seats, you know, that they're popular because they're utilitarian, they don't get vandalized in the same way as that, because they're tough and everything. Do you find that when people enjoy something, that they actually take care of it more? Does vandalism actually go up because it's a nicer experience?
Yes, it's amazing. I would have guessed that, yes, there is this kind of factor, but it's amazing how we have really addressed. I usually, when I come into a new geography, a new place, I usually ask them to bring on the worst case that you have. So show me the station where you have the most problems, because you can really turn those places into nice places and making people proud of them as their place. If you make something for them and you make it enjoyable and you keep it in good, that's important. You keep it in good shape. So you need to have a scheme where if there is a scratch, it should be removed. If there is something broken, it should be fixed right away. So that should be easy. That should be a spare part at the station. It should be easy to change, and there should be some kind of maintenance scheme to have it in a nice shape. But that is so much less expensive than to fix vandalism. So the actual cost is lower, and yet you have a nice place all the time. So it's really powerful. To give you an example, we have made, I think, 23 kilometers of seating over 9 years' time, and there is a possibility of changing ribs really easily. If there is something damaged, it can be changed. We've changed like 200 ribs. So that's 0.01 per minute.
I could say, how many kilometers is that?
So 200 ribs is like,
so it's like a really sustainable product.
It's like 20 meters of the 25 kilometers, 23 kilometers.
And I think, sort of like talking about sustainability, because in terms of the design and that, but do you think that your concept came along at the right time, as we, not just in terms of the pandemic, but with us all thinking more about the climate and greenery and how we can be more sustainable? Would you say that's that your product and your design concept has had a moment, and that's what everybody's tapping into?
Yeah, I think we may even have been a little bit early. So 9 years ago, when we started off, the sustainability demand, well, it was a nice thing to have, but nobody really asked for it. And biophilic design, yes, that has more or less, I would say, it's booming now. So we were a little bit early, but I think we may have contributed to opening people's eyes here, both on a sustainability part and on a biophilic part. I hope so. We're quite visible in the world, actually. So I hope we've had some impact and
leading. That's going to say leading the market.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, yes, I think a little bit. And our going back to that sustainability part and our mission as a company, that's not something we talk a lot about, but really why I started this, why the name is Green Furniture, was that I was disappointed on a first design that I made 15 years ago, and how smelly it became. How the production of it, even though here in Sweden and under Swedish regulations that I thought were good, it was bad for the environment. And I decided to, well, I'm not going to destroy this planet. And I pulled the brake and thought about, well, how can I do this in a green way? And how could I really show the world how you could do that? So the ambition with Green Furniture is to show the furniture industry really how you do it sustainably, and as visible as possible. So with the public places, as you know, the great stations and airports, very, very visible to the world. And also on a sustainability plan, we share all that knowledge. It's not competitive knowledge. I lecture to other furniture companies on sustainability, just because I want to bring them along on that journey. Then we have our design is different, but the design principles of sustainability I want to share.
Okay.
So I think no, go on then.
Sorry. Well, we're both really eager with questions. You go ahead.
No, I was just thinking I was just thinking interesting because we talk a lot about sustainability, green and that, but I find it interesting that you're sharing your knowledge and that you're not making it a secret what you do. And I think as a concept that's really enlightening and refreshing. So I was wondering why, what's the motivation behind doing that? Because quite often, if you're a startup or you're a company and that you want to keep everything yourself, you want to be, you want to be having the commercial success. So what's your motivation behind, sharing that knowledge?
Yeah. It really makes it worth going to work. That's it makes it worthwhile. And I think we've also we've recruited people that like the green. It's sort of obvious that that's something we're going for, and our whole green team, this is why they go to work. So this is something we have to do. It just feels right. Do
you think that's a very modern way of doing things? That whole co-creation, piece, and sharing knowledge and that, and that's how we'll solve the problems that we're in.
Yeah, and we have to do something about it. I mean, we have to save the planet together. So let's go for that, and we can compete in other ways. I think that's
it's a good message.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have a few last questions, if that's okay. When you talked about this sharing knowledge and saving the planet, is that one of your stated business ambitions? I'm just curious what's the target for the business? Is it like kilometers of seats rolled out? Is it like countries you're in, number of stations, how many trees you save? Mm-hmm. What's the target for you now?
It is really some kind of planet impact, and I think you could have that in several fields. There is a sustainability part of that, and that's the obvious, sustainability and planet green way. So yes, I want to make a change to the planet, and we want as a company to make a change to the planet. What I've also seen working, I didn't think about that in the start. It actually makes a difference to the travelers. It makes a difference to the daily life of people. I didn't think of that when starting here, but we're part of very many people's daily life, and making that little space or journey more enjoyable. And I think that's kind of a nice feeling too, and to contribute to. And then, yes, there is a volume part of this as a company. So obviously we want to be successful as a company. And that has, yes, there is some kind of ego in that for me. Being a designer and spreading that over the world, it's very nice, of course, but also gaining size and visibility. We will have even more impact and breakthrough on the other business, on businesses around, on the furniture business, on stations, and bringing them along on that furniture train, and on that enjoyable and sustainable journey. I really enjoy when I've heard a little bit from our competition that they see us as successful and sustainable. So if they see it, then that is the factor that will make them follow in the sustainability path. So we need to be successful. We need to have a size and to be visible, and then we can really have even more sustainable impact as the others go along. So it's a long path, but I think we're down that path a little bit, and that feels nice. That's my own motivation.
Really nice messages then. Last question for me is, do you have any of this furniture in your house?
I do, yes. And we don't make home private furniture anymore.
You have for yourself, have you?
It started off there, but we've had a lot of prototypes and a lot of models that we actually don't produce anymore, and I have them all in my house. Yes.
Comfy place to watch television.
Yeah.
I always feel that should be the last question, but I actually want to say what's next. Yeah, in your journey, sort of like I mean, in terms of the design and and the way we experience it and growing that well-being, what is
Yes.
next for Green Concept?
Yes, the next thing, we are already on the furniture that we roll out in the stations, they are climate positive already. The next thing is to be world positive. So that's a big thing, right? But the world should be better off with us than without us. So we should have no or a positive impact on the world, not only the climate, but on chemicals, on material use, all that. I think that it's actually possible. It's not at all easy, but I think that should be the goal. So that's where we're heading. The world should be better off with us than without us.
That is
Brilliant.
a wonderful final word. Tack så mycket.
Tack ska du ha.
I had to get it in. That was really, really wonderful speaking to you and to hearing your positive message to the world.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, Johan.
Thank you to be able to be here. Yeah.
Bye.
So thanks for listening to another episode of What Moves Us. We hope we moved you. For more episodes, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel.
Until next time.